another edition of Greatness Quest, and every single week I'm bringing you somebody absolutely extraordinary to help take your life and your business to the next level. And today I've got two awesome guys from Bolder Future. This is Ryan and Shane. I don't know
everybody.
Did I get that right?
I don't know how it's going to end up on Skype here, but yeah.
That's right.
It's all good. I'm in the blue collared shirt, Shane.
Yes.
Well, and it's Shane Johnston and Ryan Shelley, right?
Skelly. Yes.
Skelly.
I like Shelley. That's cool. That's a good handle.
I have had enough of the Agent Scully in my lifetime from X-Files.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I'll be Mulder.
Well, guys, I'm excited to have you here. I just met Shane and Ryan about a month or two ago, and they were introduced to my wife because of the phenomenal marketing assistance they had given to one of my wife's friends. And so we actually interviewed them on working on one of my wife's campaigns, and actually really excited to have them helping her and helping me, and now helping you. These guys are known for doing some huge launches as far as helping people automate their marketing online. And so this is really going to be a great episode because I'm going to pull out of them not just a bit of their story, but also how you can actually automate your marketing so that you can scale your business. And that's kind of the focus of Bolder Future. And so guys, thank you again for being here, and I'm excited to kind of take notes.
Yes.
Hey,
thanks for having
us. We're ready to rock it out. Hopefully we're going to help your audience figure this stuff out too.
Well, I appreciate that, and I was real excited about who you've worked with because I wanted to know about some of your extraordinary results. So I was like, all right, who are these guys, and what kind of results do they create for people? And so we can either start big or somebody who's starting from struggling. So let me see. Let's go ahead and let's connect instead of the big result, because that's a fun one. I want to go ahead and say if somebody's struggling right now with their marketing and they're trying to figure out how to automate it and scale, because those are the things that you focus on and do, and what you've been talking to my wife about now for a couple of months. Where does somebody get started, and what's your recommendation to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I love that we're starting with the grassroots level. Like if you're struggling, or you're doing 5 figures, but you're struggling to at the end of paying all the bills, there's not much left for you. We know lots of entrepreneurs like that, and trust me, even some of the big ones, we can't talk any names, but there's some big people out there that I'm sure some of the people in your audience would know, that even though they're making millions, they can still struggle, right? Mm-hmm. We all struggle at some level. Mm-hmm. And we've sat around boardroom tables with some of the biggest and the best, and trust me, everybody struggles, especially when you're in this entrepreneurial space.
What would you
it's
say?
Not easy.
What would you say the common struggle is? Because a lot of people don't know that. They think, well, once I've made it, like that guy, that girl, once they're like a public figure or whatnot, they've made it, and they're not going to have any more struggle. And a lot of people think that the grass is always greener, and they're never happy with where they are, and they always think that guy's got it easy and he figured it out, and I wish I was more like them. What are some of these common challenges that they all have since you've been sitting at these tables now for a while?
I mean, it's sick human beings we are, right? We're always looking at somebody else's position and thinking the grass is greener on the other side. But, when you get to that level, unfortunately what happens is, people build up these machines that they have to feed the machine on a monthly basis in terms of whether it's paying for the marketing, paying for your team, going extra, paying for video, paying for this, paying for that. Before you know it, when you're working with the best and you're making the best and you want to produce the best, it costs money to do that. So if they don't have something automated or leads coming in the door on a consistent basis, their list can get stale, and then their response can start getting down, and nobody's opening their emails, or very few people are opening the emails, and then even fewer people are clicking on your offers and your emails. So you really have to stay a couple of months ahead of the game and get all your ducks in a row, especially when you have a machine built up, and in terms of, you got to continually feed that machine. I mean, it's when you're a one-man show, when you're a solopreneur and you're just starting out and you're under, you're always looking at your costs, and And before you know it, when you start making money coming in, sometimes that goes out the window, the accounting in terms of, do I really need this? Is this moving my business forward
Yeah.
to make more money? Or is this just, some vanity metric that I'm looking at in terms of, hiring all these videographers and spending all this money when you could probably get by with maybe a little lower quality. Obviously, quality matters. But you could definitely get by with doing things on yourself, and you just want to focus your energy. We always think of it this way: all of that money that you're spending that's not bringing in revenue, you could be taking that money and investing it into marketing and advertising that's going to get you a 1x, 2x, 3x, sometimes 10x return on that dollar. So you really just got to think strategically. Did I just waste that money over here to go to this event where maybe it wasn't in my wheelhouse, but I just wanted to show my face and make sure that I was there, I was at the event, and people know who I am. Networking is great and all, but could you take that money and invest that into starting up a new campaign where you're selling people on a program or getting them on the phone to sell them on a high ticket or something like that?
So this, when I look at a business, I'm always looking at their leads and marketing, their sales and conversion, and then what they're doing to fulfill it. And what you're saying is that at a beginning level and at when someone has a machine, that means that they have a lot of expenses they have to cover. And you're saying one of the core challenges is looking at what is driving revenue and what is not driving revenue on time and money, whether you're a solopreneur or you've got a whole team and machine. And the key, which is where you guys come in, is in the automation of the marketing and leads that will then convert as well. We're going to take a quick break. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm here with Shane and Ryan with Bolder Future. And by the way, we are going to be giving a free gift away. It is going to be a webinar template. So it's called a webinar hack. I'm going to have them talk about that a little bit more. Actually, I don't even know if I got the name right. Did I get it close?
Yeah. Webinar hacks.
Good.
Yeah, you're very close.
I got it close. That's great. So I'm looking forward to having this. This is apparently their revised version. You guys can get that when you go to greatnessquest.com/Bolder Future. And you guys can check these guys out on boulderfuture.com as well. I want to get us back to what today is about, and that is automating their marketing and their business and scaling. And when we were just off camera there for a second, Shane, you were about to say something that as much as we're talking about the money and what's creating a positive ROI, you were saying something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, because we're often contracted to do big product launches, everybody wants to focus on the money. And when you're doing product launches, everything is going, I often say it's kind of like inducing labor with quadruplets. It comes on fast and it's painful. So what we found is that when we first start out, and we did this with Robin, right? Sometimes it takes a little bit of work in the trenches to work out what your messaging is, who your market is, and all that kind of thing. And everybody knows this, but everybody glosses over it because it's like, oh yeah, we know all that stuff. We know who our target market is. We know what our messaging is. But you know what? The truth of the matter is, even the best of the best, because if they're launching a new product, the messaging and the market changes somewhat. And so what we found is that everybody wants to talk money. Everyone wants to talk ROI. How are we going to get the money and how are we going to do it fast? I can tell you for sure that whenever, even us personally, whenever we've chased the money, things don't work out well. You're not successful. If you just forget about that money aspect, yes, it's got to be measured. Yes, it's got to be a part of the equation. But let's just put that to the side for a moment and let's think about the people that we're serving, because that's why we're here, right? That's what's the important part. And if we can bring together the real true message that connects people at the core level, like this is really gut visceral stuff. And I won't get into all the details of it, but I often say, and I said this to Robin when we first started out, you've got to do the empathy exercise. And the empathy exercise is a 6-step process that I go through. But basically what you do is you literally put yourself into the shoes of the person you're trying to serve. And by doing that, I mean you literally go out, you shop your competition, you even buy products, whether it's online or in physical businesses, whatever it might be. Go through the experience that your clients are going through, and then you're going to truly feel what they feel. And as soon as you do that, like I've done this in so many businesses, and I just unplug from my own business and just get out of your own headspace and go out there and feel what it feels like to be one of the people that you're trying to serve. And then all of a sudden lights click on and you're like, oh, sorry, I almost swear. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this show or not, but like, holy whatever you want to say, put the expletive in there. That light just all of a sudden beams, and you're like, I can't believe it. Like it's something. It usually ends up being something completely different than you thought it was.
Yeah.
And then test it. Put it out there and test it. And in order to do that, you need to spend a little bit of money and just forget about the ROI for now. Just serve them. Figure that out. And once you've got that dialed in, every single launch that we've seen, or every single person that we've come, a lot of people come to us and say, we review my ads because my ads aren't working. Well, guess what? It's not your ads. It's not the technical aspect. It's your message. You're not connected at the core to the people you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
That's why copywriters get paid so much money.
Boom.
Well, and you guys have a unique perspective because Shane, you are our copywriter who's like throwing F-bombs when you do interviews and stuff.
Sorry about that.
Because that connects.
It just comes out.
And then we've got the media, advertising, marketing, the buying side, and the understanding how to go ahead and get the traffic. So I exercise every day. For those who you might have followed me a little bit, and it's now been 1,800 days in a row that I'll go exercise. And yesterday,
Very impressive.
Wow.
Isn't that
Awesome.
Yeah, you'd think these would
You
be
don't
bigger.
even take a rest day? You just do it every day?
Sometimes I'll stretch. So I'll do a stretch and a yoga day and whatnot so that I don't burn out and whatnot. But it's a 20-minute commitment every day. But enough about me. But
I like it.
Yesterday I was running, and I'll sometimes have conversations in my head. So when I go for a jog, or out loud, because I'm a crazy person, and I was talking to Tony Robbins. So I'll do this sometimes. So I have a coaching call with him when I'm on my run. I'll be like, hey, Tony. And then he'll answer, and he'll say, Trevor, what's up? We haven't talked in a while. And I'll have both sides of the conversation.
That's
so this
awesome.
is me.
You can have the best mentors ever by doing that.
It's just amazing. They're like always there. They're on speed dial. I'm like, Tony. So I was talking to him yesterday, and when I was on my jog last night, and I was saying, and we just started off with gratitude and thank you, because I don't know, I'm weird. I'm having both conversations. And I was talking about how I'm grateful for the successes we've had in our business this year. My wife and I more than tripled what we did in our business using some strategies, and I was just being grateful. And I was saying, thank you, Tony, for, because he's been contributing in my life for quite some time in all of his tapes and programs. And then I was just really grateful, and I started thinking about how his programs are for me. Like, they're very affordable. They're very, you can go to his events, and it might cost a couple $100 or $1,000 or whatnot to go to an event, or you can buy his products. And I've thought, you know what, he could probably charge a lot more for those products and services. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying thank you for, it really feels like when he gives to me, that he's focused on transforming my life, not on how much money he can make. And for 20 years now, I've been going, and he goes, yeah, because he was talking to me yesterday on my run. He's like,
kidding.
No kidding. But it's just what you were talking about, Shane. And I made the commitment. I was like, so often I'm thinking about the numbers and the ROI, and
it's
did
so
we invest?
easy to think about that. Yeah.
Well, because it's a business.
It's a need. Yeah.
It has to happen. And I was like, you know what? My focus this year is more for 16, because we're at the end of 15 now. I want to really focus everything on making sure this is going to transform someone's life. And it's not like I didn't do that before, because that's not it. It's just a different energetic focus, which you just reminded me of, Shane, when you were talking about that. And I'm going to share with everybody, this is not a BS thing. Like, we hired Shane and Ryan to help my wife with some marketing and promote and doing everything we're talking about right now. The first thing they did, and it was frustrating for me because I want to see a positive ROI. I'm like, come on, guys. Run an ad, do the product launch, make us $1 million. And you're like, yeah.
Slow down.
We will.
But we'll get there. You'll make a lot more. Sometimes we say you got to go slow to be able to go faster.
I completely agree. I do the same thing. It's interesting when you hire someone and you want a result. It pisses me off because I'm like, guys, don't slow me down, speed up. But it is the way you speed up, is that you get clear on your target client, clear on the messaging, and then, Ryan, let me ask you, you said that Shane, you said that you need to invest some money in making sure you understand your client and your messaging is landing. So you just were sending out some messages for Robin recently. Is that what you're talking about? Is that you craft the message from your ideal client's perspective, but then you test it and you spend some money to find out, is it like put the message in front of them to find out if it lands. Is that part of the process that you're talking about, or am I getting it wrong? Hey guys, welcome back. We are talking about basically automating your marketing. Shane and Ryan. Ryan, I was just asking you a question before the break. Shane was saying it's important to do the empathy exercise and target who you're going to really serve. And then you were about to talk about some of the targeting, the messaging, and how you test that on Facebook.
When it really comes down to it, carrying on from our previous conversation, is you have to fall in love with the problem, not your solution, okay? So when you start with the problem at hand, you want to go into the marketplace. You want to use tools like buzzsumo.com, which is going to give you, like, you punch in your keywords, it's going to give you the most shared post on Facebook, Twitter, and all this stuff. And then you want to go use reddit.com. You want to go into forums in your niche. You want to start looking in the conversations that people are having. One of the best tips I can give you is go to amazon.com, punch in your keywords in terms of the books section, and then go down into people's reviews. Because if you look at those, people are going to tell you the problems that they're having and whether or not that book solved their problem that they're having in great specificity as well. And then you really start putting down a list of keywords that the people are using in this industry, buzzwords, stuff that's going to resonate with your audience. Because once you start getting the messaging of the languaging of the people in your niche, then that's where you could, you put together all this, in your research report, basically, is what you want to do. Market research. So that's the biggest key, like Shane said earlier, that people, gloss over because they think, I already got this. But in reality, you don't. So
and you guys do this with the big guys, the little guys, the people.
You have to do this with everybody, because I could say, okay, yeah, my niche is internet marketing. Okay, great. We have a bunch of female entrepreneurs that we could target. We have a bunch of male entrepreneurs. Frank Kern's audience isn't going to respond the same way as Bill Barron's audience, because Bill Barron's selling, other type of product than what Frank Kern's selling. So, and they also, resonate to messages differently, because that's the way, Frank Kern spoke to them in a specific way, and they respond that way. But whereas Bill Barron's, taking a different approach, such as like Elisa Sasevich is taking a different approach. So once you could really hone in on, okay, am I just targeting females 35 to 45? Now you can go into Facebook and go to Audience Insights, and this is one of the best things they ever gave us, which was about, I think maybe about 2 years ago now that it's been out, is you just go in there and, after you do your market research, at this point, you should have a good idea of who are the industry gurus, who are the leaders, who are the people that are already speaking about this problem that you think would resonate with, your solution as well. So you want to start with that guru or that brand, that industry, that whether it's like Success Magazine or something along that line, or if you're very niche, like if you're like fishing and you want to go to like fishing shows and stuff like that, and you want to punch just that one keyword into Facebook's Audience Insights, and then that's just going to give you a list of all the demographics of the people in that marketplace, and then you want to right off the bat eliminate anything that's less than 10%. So if it's like people that are 55 and plus, and it's like only 8% of that audience is in there, just eliminate that off the bat, and then get down narrow. And then when you do that, Facebook's going to show you more people that have a relevancy score to the person that you punched in. So if I put in Frank Kern, obviously, like people like Ryan Deiss are going to pop up in there, digital marketer. The list goes on of the industry people that are going to show up there. Now they might be on there. They still might not be the best, but you need to test, because then you start writing the list of those people. Now you have your targets, and you really just want to play around and then get like 4 or 5 targets, and then throw a little test campaign at $5 a day to each target. And then you're going to really quickly not spend a lot of money. You spend 25. If you spend $50, you're buying data that at the end of the day, you're not wasting money. You're buying intel, you're buying data. You're going to see who's responding, who's not responding. Hey, this one audience, Ryan Deiss's audience, might really love this, and I'm getting, 70-cent opt-ins, whereas this other audience they don't like it at all, and I didn't get any opt-ins for the $5 I spent. So you really could tell quickly off the bat who's resonating with your message, and then if nobody's resonating with it, and you're pretty sure you still have the research and you did it right, then it's back to the drawing board. Maybe it's not personally attainable the way you came after it. People need to go through a sequence of agreements to be able to, click on your ad and have a little curiosity in there to be able to follow through. You want to micro engage them to the next step. They have to have that insatiable curiosity about what it is that you're offering that separates you from the rest of the marketplace. So that would be the best way to get started in terms of using Facebook and using those tools that I talk like BuzzSumo and Amazon, and going through those and really just understanding the language and the conversations that are going on in your industry. Okay. Because once you get that, then the keywords will pop out at you, and that's when you could use them in your marketing where they're like, he knows me, he understands me, Trevor understands me. So let me see what he has to offer.
Well, and I just want to mention two things that are really important about that. Mm-hmm. One is definitely spend $100, $200 and test it, but the key here is the message that you're delivering. So if you're targeting properly, but you have the wrong message, that's what we call in the industry, in copywriting world, that's a message to market mismatch. You might have the right people, but you're just not saying the right thing. And usually where it boils down to is that you're trying to approach it too much from the logical technical side. You're talking features and maybe even some benefits, but you're talking about you and your product. And that's what I meant, at the beginning. If you're not chasing the money and you're thinking about them, speak to them at an emotional level. What's their problem, but how are they feeling about that problem? And then go deeper and say, okay, what is the emotional trigger that's causing them to feel fear or feel pain? We all feel fear and pain. And we won't get into all the details, but there's 7 different emotional triggers that are characteristics of every human. So, do a search online. You can find this stuff. It's all over the place. Deal with people at an emotional level, and you'll compel them to do the things that not only you want to do, but they need to do for themselves to help themselves and to help you. And then just one other point about what Ryan was saying about the targeting. He gave some really kick-ass technical ways to go find them. But here's the thing, analyze the data after you spend that $100 or $200 and rise above the data. Don't just bury yourself and look at the numbers and go, wow, I'm spending $2 to get every lead. It's not about what your cost per lead is. It's about what it is about what the return on investment is at the end of the day. But what it's about is, are the people that you're serving and giving this information to, are they spending some money? Because if they spend some money, then you can help them better. And when you help them better, they help themselves better. And so we had an example where we had a really big international best-selling author, a dozen times over. And they were targeting certain countries in the Middle East, India, that kind of thing. And they were targeting that area because they were, it was about self-development, and motivation and achieving things. And those people they're very excited and motivated. They want to be charged up. They're excited about being excited. They want to be motivated. But they're not the kind of people that were spending money with them to take action. And so the end result was he was putting all this effort on trying to acquire these people into the marketing funnel, which was working. The cost per lead, if we were only to look at that data, the cost per lead was sub 50 cents in some cases. Sometimes we're getting them for 10, 20 cents. So most marketers would look at that and go, wow, this is we're crushing it. The rest is up to you. But we look at the data and go, yeah, but wait a minute. They're not continuing on after that initial touch point. Mm-hmm. So something's wrong. So we do a funnel and leak analysis, and Shane, they're leaking out. That's the issue.
You're talking about analyzing the data because you're taking them through a sequence of agreements, Ryan. If you target the client appropriately in your messaging, then the automation is that you're taking with them through a series of micro commitments with these $5 ads, and and then you run a series of just marketing to see if they have them, if they make their micro commitments. And Shane, you're talking about they opt in, so you acquired the lead. But did they go to the next step, which is buying
download
something?
your report, actually open the report
Bingo.
in your email to take the next step to buy, like you were talking about Tony Robbins with his lower priced products. The reason why Tony could do that and he could serve so many more people is because he has an ascension model on the back end where he could charge people that are ready to spend that money to get that one-on-one with him, $50,000, $100,000, where he can make up for that. So he's nurturing people for sometimes 10 years, but he's been in it for so long. He has so much content. He's got so much good stuff that he's able to acquire more customers. And the person that acquires more customers at the end of the day, and the person who could spend the most money to acquire that customer wins. So like back to Shane, 70 cent, 10 cent leads versus 250 leads in the United States. I'm going to take the 250 in the United States that are going to convert on me on the back end and buy my $500 product.
Well, here's my question. When you said look at the data, Shane, you were saying that you got to make sure you're looking at it and making sure that it's converting. Like, are they spending money? So are you meaning in my campaign, are they spending money? Are you also looking at does this group typically spend money, or are you talking about both?
Both.
Yeah, I mean, the real thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, it is about spending money, because spending money gets attention, and attention gets you speed. So that's going to get you your results quicker. But really what it's about is, are the people going to the next level consuming whatever it is that you're educating them on and using that to progress their own life and their own business? And if they even do that, even if it's free content, that's cool, because those are the people are going to carry on and do something, and each time it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then what we're doing is we're measuring what we call lifetime value. So like Ryan was saying, Tony understands what his lifetime value is. So he might under recover on acquiring those first clients just to get them getting achievements and getting results through being exposed to his content and his teaching. And once you know that, you've got somebody who's interested in whatever this topic is, who likes you and your character and resonates with you and is going to take action on that. And that's the most important thing. Too many people, I mean, as humans, our worst characteristic is that we procrastinate too much. Why do we procrastinate? Because we're afraid. We're afraid of, if we try this and we look bad to other people, then, and that causes fear.
Yeah.
And
that's the worst problem.
Yeah, the procrastination goes back to, what we're giving away for you today, which is if you go to greatnessquest.com/Boulder Future, you'll be able to pick up our webinar hacks. And on that, we have our hacks of keeping people within our funnel. Shane, briefly spoke about it, funnel leaks. So somebody will come in, they'll opt in, typically for a webinar campaign, they'll opt in. Okay, and then on the thank you page, what we do, which not a lot of people do, and which has gotten extraordinary results because it builds a community of people, is once they opt in, we ask them to join a Facebook group or a community of like-minded people. So, the power of the group, everybody working towards the same goal to accomplish something, that gets people motivated. They get motivated, and once they get into action, then you give them, some homework to get ready for your webinar. You could label it as something else because people don't like homework, But so like a self-assessment is something to get ready where it's incomplete, and the way they need to complete it is to show up on your webinar live. And when they show up on your webinar live, then they have the breakthrough. Then you make your offer, and then some people are going to buy live on that webinar. But like Shane said, most people are procrastinators, and I do this myself too. You have to run a proper countdown sequence, which is, 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours. And you want to pull that messaging through that sequential remarketing is what we call it, through all the pages that certain people hit. Did they go to your replay page? Okay, if they did, let's pixel them. And now we could remarket to them saying, hey, thanks for checking out the replay. Just to let you know, this offer comes down in 24 hours. You need to act now. Click here, go here. Okay? So it's really, it's a big machine. Now, we talk about automation, but once you're first starting up, you don't have these things in place, and it's a little bit more manual. But once you get something that works, and then you could go to get those lifetime value, those numbers, even lifetime value within just that one campaign, whether it be like a 7-day campaign or something like that. Once you know those numbers, then that's when you could start putting the automation into place and really just ramping up things and moving over to automated webinars and seeing if that works, or it might hurt conversions, it might not, it might help conversions. You have to test everything. So
So I just want to make a comment real quick. I've been taking notes. I typically do every time I interview someone. I just want everybody, if you're still watching this, you got to go back, and if you didn't take notes, you've got to go back and listen to this again, because there's absolute gold here that we just invested a lot of money with you guys to help us do. And it was really great insight. So for anybody here who's wanting to do it yourself and want to understand this more, go through the targeting, Shane, that you were mentioning initially, of how important that is, and really understanding your customer. And then Ryan, when you talked about where to go research them, like the idea of going into the reviews on Amazon and reading the reviews on the books of some of my competitors, and to hear what they're saying and falling in love with the problem and not the solution. I mean, I am really impressed with the gold that you gave. And I don't usually say, I get a lot of great people, but I'm just like, I'm really excited about my notes, because this is a great way to help someone target their client and really communicate with them. And then also, Ryan, you're just talking about, you're almost so casually and laid back that it's like, well, they just opt in, they join a Facebook community, then you give them some homework. And I'm thinking, that's what you've been talking to my wife about. That's what you've been and a lot of people will think this sounds so simple. Here's the challenge. It sounds so simple. It sounds like English. I understand it. Opt in. I can do that.
Seems simple, right?
Fall in love with their problem. Got it. Don't worry about it. I handled it. There's a sense of it's really simple, and then there's the sense of overwhelm. And I'm just pointing this out because it's really easy. All these steps are really simple. It's not hard, and especially when I hear you guys talk about it, and you're like, it's very. But I want to point out that these two guys are working together with clients. One is more on copywriting and has a different energy and where they focus their time, and then another one focused on the on the analytics and running the Facebook ads and all the things that have to happen, plus all the strategy behind it, plus the Facebook group, plus these micro commitments of this sequence of agreements. The copywriting on the headline and the subhead and on what the PDF says is so in depth. Because if you mess any one of those up, it might just be the wrong word, and then it's like the campaign doesn't work. My point is that you're seeing a team of people here, that two guys that are really good at automating all of this. There's great information here, but there's a lot of parts. We haven't even got to the webinar hacks. Like, how can you convert on a damn webinar? Like, to figure that out. So I just am going back to the fact of how important it is to get a team to help you do this well. Yeah. And I know you guys help people that are struggling and starting from scratch or very little financial results, like we talked about. Maybe 5 figures is what they're bringing in, to some potential $1 million launches, and it's the same for everybody. I just wanted to point it out because I think this is complete gold here, and people should go back and get and really pull this out, because it's the whole business you guys just gave. Very
I
simply.
appreciate that. And that webinar hacks, we used to call it the 59-point webinar marketing checklist. Okay, so there's 59 points in there. It's actually more now.
There's no fluff in there either. Every single one of them. They're the ones. It's the checklist we use for our own launches.
Yeah. So we decided, hey, we put this together. Why not give? Because like exactly what you just said, we can give everybody the pieces of the puzzle, but only the people that put them together are the ones that are going to have success. So yeah, that checklist. If you go to greatnessquest.com/bolderfuture, We have everything from the pre-webinar, which I talked about, which is the market research, to how to do your tracking to make sure that you're spending your money wisely, and then all the advertising, how to split test, how to do all that, how to use audience insights, then how we nurture people before the webinar and remind them to show up to the webinar, then the whole setup of the webinar and the content that you give in the webinar. Then the most crucial part is the closing, okay, and the follow-up sequence after that. So there's 7 steps to the webinar, campaigns that we run. They're not typical like some other people. I don't want to make stuff seem like it's simple. Like, you don't want to overhype stuff. So it's not easy. At the end of the day, it's not easy to put all this together, but we gave you all the resources that we go through. So hopefully somebody picks it up and runs with it and, can get a 5-figure webinar up.
I think it's important to mention too, 59 different things that you got to do. It might seem a little overwhelming to some, but here's the thing. We don't always use every single one of them every time, right? And so what's important to note is even if you just try 1 or 2 of them, you'll get a bunch of results. And each time you do it, then you just layer 1 or 2 more in. It's, it's one step at a time. That's what it's about.
Well, now, so I want to ask this question instead of just talking. I think I know part of this answer because I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because, Ryan, you just gave a great summary again, and you say it so casually. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I should be able to go do all of that. and you're so if somebody just needs to get started from this training, they're watching this video, they're going to go get the webinar hacks. That's the resource that we just gave them. You covered a whole business here. We talked about targeting. We talked about messaging. We talked about measuring. Where does somebody get started, and what's the next step?
Well, I'll take a stab at answering that. What we like to do typically is start from the end and work your way backwards. And what I mean by that is, if you've been working in your niche for some time and you know your marketplace, you know your client, you know what their biggest problem is, now just convert that and start speaking to them at the emotional level, you'll start getting good traction on getting leads. But the question is, how are you going to serve them and how are you going to best help them get results? So what we do is we say, okay, well, what do you do in your marketplace? Whether you're working with people one-on-one in a consulting type of fashion, or you've got a membership site where they go take some training videos, whatever your method of delivering whatever goodness it is that you do, what is the number one biggest mechanism or biggest teaching that you give to your clients that gets them maybe not all the way to their complete, promised land, where there's a pot of gold under the rainbow and there's unicorns jumping around? What is the number one thing that at least gives them that next big step? And so the idea here is you don't want to overwhelm people. So you're just going to pull one little piece of what you do and bring it all the way to the front of the marketing process. Because that's going to be their first touch point with you. And you want to make sure that the first touch point somebody has who's with you that's never seen you before has to be the best of the best of the best. And so that's why we have this whole process that we teach people how to do product launches that can result in 6 figures or even 7 figures, depending on where you are in the whole continuum of this. But it's important that that first step is the right one. Otherwise, your audience is not going to follow you along the entire step. And so you're going to have people leaking out along the way because they're going to go, oh yeah, I've heard that before.
So take your best stuff and put it. Take your best stuff and put it first. Now that's, hey, we live in a world, man. It's a scarcity, dog eat dog world. I don't know if I can do that. I need to save that. That's what I.
No. That emotion that you're feeling right there, that's when you have to give it away.
Yeah.
But you're not giving it away. You're opting in, so you're gaining some value for your business, because if you line it up the right way, that one opt-in is going to lead to somebody buying your product eventually.
Yeah. And trust me, we know how that feels. We actually just did it. We did a high value, it was called our impact coaching, which is our high value, quite expensive, high ticket direct coaching. We did that back in August, September. And when we did it, we said, Ryan, let's not put up an opt-in page. Let's just give some free content in the clear. And so that was gut-wrenching. because we literally we recorded 3 videos, which was part of our hacks, but we literally opened up the kimono and showed like real data, real client case study type stuff, open in the clear, no opt-in required. And it, because we did that, it got shared virally, like it just went crazy. But it was like gut-wrenching, visceral stuff for us because, and here's where it really impacted us. We had a few of our competitors steal the information and start using it and just like literally replicate, just like literally copied it and started showing other people and selling it as their own. And in one case, we had a guy go in and steal all of our videos and he bought, because we had an upsell funnel to buy our webinar academy, and he bought it and then put it into a black hat group and was selling it on group buys. All because we put our information in the clear. So we had to, like, that bothered us and it kind of sidelined us, but it's like, okay, well, that's our fear speaking.
It means we made it. We made it.
Forget
when they put
about
it
the
on black
fear.
hat sites.
Don't focus on those. Focus on the 90% of the people you just helped. And that's what we ended up doing.
I think a lot of people are worried about that. I experience it all the time. People don't like to put their and like you said, I've experienced it myself. When I wrote my first book that came out in 2015, it's what people paid the most money for. What is my best stuff, and I've put it all in the book. Like and the book is on sale for $2 or $3 on Amazon. And then I made videos to back it up that would help give them some extra insight into using the material. And it is gut-wrenching, but it's also freeing because I don't think anybody actually can steal. And I'll share, I mean, they can, obviously. They just did steal. But I don't think it works that way. I think that, like you said, you got sidelined, Shane. You guys go, oh my gosh, they stole our stuff. Yeah. But in retrospect, after a few months, you're like, you know what? That's okay. Let's focus over here. We're in a world where there's so much abundance. There's so much. We're not in a world of competition. I don't believe. Now, competition I think is healthy. I think competition makes it. You actually get to collaborate with your competitors if you're
Coexistence.
Smart. We call it co-opetition.
Co-opetition. I like it. So I think that I just love that, and what you said, Shane, also was beginning with the end result. I'll oftentimes, that's the other question, like what business do you want to have? What's that end result that you want to do for someone? So you know what you're selling. That's the scalable part. Someone goes, I want to coach. Great. What are you going to charge? $1,000. Great. How much money do you want to make? $1 million. I'm like, all right. So do you know how many clients you need to coach to make $1 million? Yeah. Like, let's just do the math. Like, it might not be.
You got to do a reality check on it too, right? Like, if you're only making $50,000 and you want to make $1 million in the next 6 months, like, come on,
right?
You know, you got to start somewhere. So do a reality check on that.
Well, and then if they're selling, I want to get 10 clients this month at $1,000 because that's going to help me get $1 million. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, let's just do the math.
How many did you get last month? 0? You're going to go from 0 to 10 all in 30 days. Okay.
Well, and what I like there is you said put the best first and go to that end result and pull that out. And it's not as easy as it seems. And it needs to be, everybody needs to do this. So what I like also is that you said it doesn't matter what level you're playing with a client, you go back in and you do this. And I see you doing this with Robin. You pulled out with Robin what it is, that one thing that creates an incredible, amazing result. You put it in front of an audience. Ryan, you just said that you were testing this audience with Robin's message. Well, it's a great message. You said this part might be something they need further on. Like, let's go back and find something else because it's a great, impactful piece that Robin pulled out. But you're like, you know what? It's not enough of a micro commitment. We need to give something even... It's just uniquely different at the beginning of this messaging funnel. So now we're like, oh, Robin came to me yesterday and said, I got to rework it again. You know, I got to come.
You want me to do it again? I'm
something
sure
even better.
Expletives involved there too.
Well, and it's a process. Oh, last thing I would say with from my side, and then I'm going to ask you guys. And we've been talking for quite some time here, so I want to let people go. But also, just this is valuable. Is that we engaged Shane and Ryan for a year. This was a minimum of 12 months to go ahead and decide that we were going to work with them. to get the extra help and have someone else on our team that not only we can use, but that we can go ahead and give you. So if you're watching this, then we're going to be using Shane and Ryan a lot, working together, and then give a lot more of their resources and help to go ahead and serve you. So if you don't think you have to get this done in a week or a month or anything else, and they've said this multiple times to us, and I use it with my clients as well, which is, this is a campaign. Like, it's okay. It doesn't have to happen today. Mm-hmm. And just to know that this is a commitment for what you want to do for 2016. When you're watching this, it's probably New Year's Eve. So make sure you take that next step, but commit with what you want to do for the whole year. And just don't give up on it, because if you can fall in love with the problem, using what I think, Ryan, you just said that, fall in love with the problem of your ideal client instead of your solution so awesome. Mm-hmm. That's not what you want to talk about. Great stuff today, honestly, in the training of speaking to them at that emotional level, Shane, about what the triggers are. Oh, it's gold. So there's a lot of great stuff here. Stick with us in 2016. Stick with Shane and Ryan. Go to Boulder Future so you can find them. Get their webinar hacks, and you don't have to figure it out in a day. We're going to be with you and partnered with you for your success. Guys, anything else you'd like to say to people watching right now about what to do in 2016 or what to do next? And what's your last words to them?
Yeah, I'd love to kind of leave them with some parting words, and it's involving a book. I talk about this quite a bit. I don't know if you've read that, The Rise of Superman, Stephen Kotler. Stephen Kotler actually wrote another book, Bold, which I'm almost finished reading. This is the one right here that he wrote along with Peter Diamandis.
Seen that book,
right?
Yeah.
That's an awesome book too. But I love this book because it really speaks to what we've been talking about today. And in this book, Stephen Kotler, he talks about flow hacks is really what the book is about. And he talks about it in the world of high adventure sports, but he relates it back to business as well, because as entrepreneurs, we often struggle. And we know what it's like to be tapped into flow, but it doesn't happen for us all the time. And everybody's like this. I don't care if you're at the beginning stages of your entrepreneurial business, or you're a Richard Branson or a Tony Robbins or anyone. Everybody hits those struggle phases. And so one of the things that I love, he goes through a whole bunch of flow hacks, but one of the ones I love is the flow hack of the social group, or the power of the social group, and how tapping into a common social group will allow you to pull yourself into flow much quicker and more often. And here's something that it really relates back to one of our big webinar hacks, which is get people micro-engaging, get them just taking the next step, because once they're in motion, it's like Newton's law. Once the body is in motion, it tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. And so what Stephen says in the book here is, when it comes to this whole group flow, he calls it, he says, more acceleration comes from the social support that solidarity of a group provides. Finding flow is not easy, and keeping it is even tougher still. And the struggle phase can drag endlessly on, and the urge to give up grows stronger as the lasting memory of that flow grows dimmer and dimmer. We all feel that way. It doesn't matter if you're small or big or whatever. He says, but the collective momentum fights hard against individual inertia. And in any action, in any community, when one member is in struggle and others in flow, and probably using that state to do something amazing, and amazing energizes. Whether it's the cooperative excitement or the competitive jealousy, one person's triumph becomes another's motivation, and this creates the flywheel effect, and the group itself gains momentum. And that's so important, and that's the flow hacks that Ryan was talking about earlier, where when you first give somebody your best content and they opt into it, and then on the thank you page we pull them into a Facebook group, that's what that is all about. That's probably the number one thing that you've got to do, because it micro-engages them into action, which puts them into momentum. But it taps into the power of that social group where you are the leader, and people want to be led. They crave it. They desire it. So when you're leading that group, what happens is you've got a many-to-many connection now, instead of on your email list where it's really only a one-to-one connection. And let's face it, email open rates, they're diving. People are telling us they're getting sub 10% open rates now. People's inboxes are full. If you pull them into a social group like that, and you've got that many-to-many connection, you'll bring that level of contact back up. So I'll leave with that.
Very sweet.
And that's I'll leave with something a lot shorter than that. But
I'm always longer verbally.
we learned this one recently from Brian Kurtz, and it speaks to everything in life in general. There's givers at the bottom of the food chain and at the top. So always be giving, no matter if you're at the bottom and you're struggling or if you're at the top. So I'll just leave you with that.
That's very nice. All right, guys. Well, genuinely, I'm impressed with today's interview. I really got a lot out of it personally, so thank you very much. And I look forward to our continued partnership and also what we're going to create and share with everybody together in
awesome.
2016. So thank you guys very much. And
Thanks for having us.
A happy new year, everybody. Thank you,
Happy
guys.
New Year.
Well, Koenig's clap.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. And we will see you next week on Greatness Quest, where I'm going to bring you somebody else amazing to help you take your life and your business, way to the next level. All right. We'll see you next week.
Greatness Quest is also available for download on iTunes and Stitcher. See the link in the description below.